Okay. Doo-doo. What just made that noise?
That would be me.
Hello, me.
Hey, how's it going, Corey?
Good. Do you want me to call you Potato Fi or Joel?
Call me Joel. It's fine.
Joel.
Everybody, my real name is well known on the intertubes. So yeah,
Fair enough. I am also going to advertise this to, you're going to be like, really, Corey? My Telegram group chat. You may or may
sweet.
not have seen the other stream. Probably Tron and Gordy won't join us,
Okay,
but we'll see. Uh,
sounds good.
and okay, good. That's gosh darn it.
Oh, my video's all like froze. There we go. That's better.
Yay. The video is also a little weird because my video is actually going to the stream instead of to Zoom.
So I will get video. Boy, there are like three military helicopters flying over right now. Seriously, like three big ones. That's the technical term, I believe. Big old helicopters.
uh,
I am going to attempt internet sharing from my Mac. So if I drop off, I will just hop back in. So don't worry about me.
okay.
Try. And you also will hear kids in the background. All the neighbor kids are over playing with my kids, and we are watching a baby tonight. So not ours. So yeah.
Fair enough. Um, how do I find out the URL of my stream? Share. Copy.
Whoa, you can't. So Mac OS will not let you share a Wi-Fi network that uses WPA to enterprise. That is very interesting. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my non WPA to enterprise network. So I will probably drop off as I roam from one virtual radio to the next. So stand by.
That's the most specific problem I've heard about in a long time.
Okay, I'm back. You were saying that's and then
Oh,
that's all I heard.
I said that's the most specific problem I've heard about in a long time.
It was very specific. Yes.
uh, da, 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 insert and tweet. Tweet all the things. Telegram updated.
Tweet all of the things.
Absolutely all of them. Okay, and then I just had to restart like every computer I own, except for the Mac Pro. Mostly
Nice.
because Windows 10 seems to be weird after sleeping on the surfaces. So I do
Okay.
that out of habit. And then my desktop won't actually run the stream if I've been remote desktoping into it. Which makes
That's
sense, but
interesting.
is also annoying.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Uh,
Okay, so I'm doing something kind of silly. Well, I'll wait. I'll wait till we start the stream before.
the stream is running, and
Dude, my camera is wigging out hardcore. I don't know if you're seeing like just random freezes on your end, but it's just like freezes every 10 seconds over here.
I may or may not have been not looking at
That's
that
fine.
computer.
You're not, that does not hurt my feelings very much, just a little bit. Uh,
That's I don't mean to hurt feelings, but
no,
you
it's
know, it's
okay.
it's what I do. Um,
So my setup here does not allow me to move my microphone around. What if I go to Oh, it's on like all direction mode already anyway. So the problem is my Mac is over here, not where yeah, it's just not right nice and center. So let's see. Okay, no name server found, so that is not working.
is
I'm gonna grab
this
a tool really quick. So
okay?
BRB, I will not hear you.
Okay.
Okay, I am back.
Yay.
Wow,
Uh,
you're all fancy tonight.
oh, hello, this
What's
is
that
Comp
me or
Geek.
Hi.
I'm sorry, did I miss Comp Geek?
Yep, that's who I am. I think.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. I am Potato Fi,
Oh
or
wait, no.
Joel is fine.
Sorry, I'm actually Chris. My ID says Chris, not Compy.
All
Oh,
right.
it says Chris Comp Geek. Oh, how do I, oh no, I broke it. Uh, Gosh darn it, Zoom.
What'd you do?
It's only showing the active speaker, which means it's changing. And I wish. Oh, there we go. Exit minimized video. Fixed it. Let's hide the taskbar. And then move that over.
Well, dang, I seem to have a bad Ethernet cable here because my link sprinter says nothing.
Uh-oh.
That's kind of sad because this cable here, this little yellow cable, I've had this cable since I was 16 years old. This has been my crossover cable for 16 years, and I'm not getting link lights on it.
Oh no.
You get kind of or you get kind of attached to these things, you know? Pretty sure this is my old faithful crossover cable.
Random new one that happened to show up.
Let's see, does your tester let you see which wire is going through to where?
Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't do like pin to pin mapping. But it does have a TDR reflector in it. So I'm gonna fix my microphone really quick. That is really bothering me. There we go. It does have a TDR reflector in it, and so it will look to see which pairs are broken. Basically, it reflects down the cable and looks to see that the lengths are all the same. But no, it does not do like pin to pin mapping.
I actually have a motherboard that does pin-to-pin mapping on the two Ethernet ports on the and hook up cable 22 will do it in the BIOS.
Uh-huh.
Coolest motherboard I've ever owned. I'm so happy I have that.
That is actually a pretty cool feature. That's nice to
It's weird
have.
because it's an Asus board. They never actually advertised it, that feature, but it's in the BIOS. It's like the cheaper than buying the actual tool for it by the motherboard.
I love how typically the most useful features, or the features that I'm like the most interested in, those are typically the features that the manufacturer does not point out or tell anyone about. It's like this undocumented thing that's way off in the corner that nobody says anything about. Okay, I'm going to try to find another cable because I really want to see if this thing works. Although, yeah. What if this isn't a crossover cable? What if I'm wrong? I've only been wrong once. And that's when I thought I was wrong. Hey Corey, where's this stream going? Like, where are you using YouTube or because I don't even know what service you're using.
It's on YouTube. I just posted. I say just, it's maybe been a minute or two.
Uh
Oh, damn it. I got a retweet and I was like, oh, from who? From 60KMLA because I just logged in and did it.
huh. Because you just retweeted yourself. I've done that. I've
Uh,
been like so excited. I'm like, oh, it's just me from
Um,
an alternate account.
yeah, YouTube. I tweeted a post tagging you with the link to the stream.
There it is. Found it.
It's also in hash 60KMLA. There are 3 concurrent viewers right now, one of which might be me. So, not having planned too far in advance, I don't know what we'll get. Uh,
Yeah, be interesting. Like, do you even know if we have any? Like, how do you know how many viewers you have?
YouTube
Or
shows you if you're on your own stream.
yeah,
Yeah, there's 4 of them right now. 3 if you exclude me.
Ah, yeah, I think that might be 2 if you exclude those of
and
us.
me, I'm one.
Okay, so
One
we're
person.
all on the stream.
Hey, what's the news feed thing below your camera? What's that all about?
That is Weather Channel footage from the 80s or 90s, I forget which, that I downloaded from YouTube,
Uh,
and I just added as a media playback to OBS.
that's fun. That is very fun. It's
I,
totally dumb, but it's awesome.
yeah, I don't own any monitors big enough to actually fill 1920 by 1080. Um,
So you have to put something there.
yeah, so I put my camera in the top, right. I used to have this was more effective when I was doing like a 1280 by 960 stream. I had a banner on top, that weather channel on the bottom, and I forget whether or not I had something else at the lower right.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I'm gonna root around and see if I can find another Ethernet cable. Probably just go on mute while I do that. And because I've got, you can't see it. I'll tilt my camera down actually. I don't know if you can even see it. Boy, that is 80s, 90s footage for sure. So yeah, you can see right there is this is my golden, like my best Mac that I have. And connected to it, I've got my SCSI Ethernet adapter.
ah,
And I want to see if I can hit D-Tools with it tonight.
excellent goal.
I figured. So, and I just finished. I put a new, um, I swapped out the brightness knob from another SE that's currently sitting in pieces on the floor behind me. And so now I can turn my brightness up and down, which I'm very happy about because I want to try to preserve that CRT as long as I can. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So I'm going to grab another Ethernet cable and see if I can get that thing online. So I will be back uno
Uh,
momento.
okay. While Joel does that, I've just created the apps E folder for
Ooh.
the E folder of the apps.
It's the Mercedes E class of apps. No
Well,
more Lily C class for us.
the literal instant first thing I see is this macOS 904 update, and I'm kind of like, why is that here? What is E? Did someone tag all of their personal stuff E? Or is
Wouldn't
this like
surprise
someone's English collection?
wouldn't surprise me.
Also, I
That's
bet that file name is too long.
yeah, it's also probably like with like mass downloads is nothing's ever actually sorted in a logical way. They just like got every file from the internet threw it in one folder and called it good.
Right. Well, that's part of my intent here to like actually sort something. Um,
Yeah, be usable so you can find something in it.
yeah, and the only reasonable, what with the quantity, really the only thing I could think of was just uh, to go ahead and sort it by vendor, which is gonna make it more difficult in some ways, but easier in others.
Yeah, I remember because you got a hand sort, you can't just like do a bulk search and do it too easily. Unless file names are correct, which they probably aren't.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, and some of this stuff too is like, of what relevance to vTools is early Apple fonts.sit? What does that even mean? What is? Well, okay, I'm imagining this EQX stuff is Quark Express stuff. Oh, actually, speaking of stepping away. Oh, no, 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 come on, come on, come on. Okay.
Uh-oh. What'd you do?
Uh, uh, okay. Kicked a power cord, but Microsoft hasn't abandoned MagSafe yet, so it was all good.
Nice.
But also, it's medications taking time, part one.
Yeah, I don't know what's good and
Sounds
bad that my precision power cord is like so big. I probably just pick a thing up by the power cord, it still wouldn't break. Because I mean, it's got like a good quarter-inch thick power cord going into it.
As a child, I kicked an iMac off a short table, like my 233 iMac with a CRT off a little table that it was on,
ooh.
because one of the cords hooked up to it, of which there were many at the time, was tangled up in like my legs.
That sucks. So it's like a G3
Hmm.
iMac. Yeah. You can't see it. It's directly behind the camera, but my G3's sitting over there doing its thing. It's
Nice.
got a, yeah, I've had that. So my wife and I have been married for almost 9 years. It's not, that doesn't have anything to do with the story. Actually, kind of does because 2 weeks before our wedding, I found a guy on Craigslist had iMacs for $20 each, and he had 20 of them. And I showed up with $20 to buy one, and he was like, "Tell you what, man, I'll cut you a heck of a deal. How about I sell you 20 iMacs for $1 a piece?" And I was like, "Sign me right up." And so we loaded up my car with 20, maybe it was like 10, I don't know, but it was a crap ton. Once you get above like 10, like does it matter anymore? It's just you just have a ton of iMacs at that point. So I gave like some of them away as gag gifts, and I kept one, and actually ended up donating it to a local makerspace, and then actually I ended up getting it back from them, and here it is, and it still works great. It's got like, I don't know, 256 megs of RAM. I think it's a 600 megahertz model. Like, it's pretty good. So I think I'm going to hang on to that for a while. No plans to get rid of that.
I
See,
think
I feel like
that's
the
weird.
only important part there is the spousal acceptance factor of the 20 iMacs.
Yeah,
It sounds like you got some help with loading them up. I'd say you're fine.
actually, the reality was is we were about to get married, and we were like super duper broke. And so me spending $20 on iMacs was kind of like, she was a little unsure about that. But ultimately, though, I mean, look at my office right now. Like, my wife lets me buy whatever as far as stupid, useless electronics go. So yeah, I'd say it all worked out really good in the end. So yeah, it's funny though, because this was 2 weeks before my, like, I always remember, like, that was like a big event that happened near my wedding. So I always kind of tie it to that. So, good news and bad news. The good news is now I have a link light on this cable, but my Mac still does not see out to the intertubes. So I'm going to go off mic again, and I'm going to find an Ethernet hub. Yes, I have a hub, and I'm going to try to run that thing through an Ethernet hub. My guess is that the SCSI adapter on the Mac does not talk to the adapter on my MacBook dock, because the MacBook adapter dock does probably not support 10 megabits per second half duplex. That's my guess. So I'll use the hub to bridge the gap. So I'll be back in a minute.
Since no one else is gonna say it, I was just gonna say, I wonder what SCSI adapter that is, because my personal one does talk to gigabit switches, but MacBook uh, dock is a bit of a. Oh, he put it there. That's an Asante. That should talk to
Yeah.
gigabit. I hear Tyler like,
Yeah. No. So unfortunately, some of the really early ones just don't. Oh, well, some of the crappier ones, because even some of the later ones I've had trouble with,
okay.
don't support auto MDX real well,
Even
and crappy equipment tends to not figure that out.
fair enough. Hub is definitely like I may or may not have actually. Well, I got a 24 port 10100 hub from Dan.
Yay!
Yeah. So I'm googling for Easy ModelWorks 1.5 to see if this is compatible with macOS. Oh, darn it. Okay. Uh do do do. 19.
Hmm. Such an epic sigh, Corey.
How about this? I'm gonna copy the Mac version, and I'm gonna tag everything else as out of bounds.
Hmm.
I'm a little bit like, In no universe does this program from 1996 have Windows, Mac, and OS X Intel versions.
Mm. You know, en re to the whole classic Mac networking thing, I really need to spend more time on prototyping that and get it to the point that it's deployable to a Pi.
Which thing
Uh,
did you?
poor man's layer two bridging with filtering so that I can
Okay, so were you
have
reading the forum
basically old
today?
Mac Hamachi.
Ah, were you reading the forum today?
No, not at all.
Okay, that came up, sort of. I talked about that briefly. Let me see if I'm signed in there. 6 8. Whoops, let me. 6 8. Uh, can you? Are you on the stream? Can you see my screen? I say like as
Uh,
if you can't just go to the forum on your own.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm going to the forum now. I'm
It's
going to stalk you on your own forum, Corey.
whatever. It's practically yours at this point.
No,
Um,
Corey, I'm sorry, but that's one honor I would never take from you.
so literally today, in this thread called Ethernet via SCSI to SDV6, which our other panelist Joel posted. Let me just send you this link on Telegram, Tyler.
Oh my God, Corey, the forum displays a verified mark next to you now.
What?
Yeah, when I'm looking at you in the admin panel. I don't think we have that visible, but that's really funny. You can choose to give people a verified badge.
Oh, that's wild. That feels so in a bad way. That feels um that feels like an instant like these are Corey's friends marker. Also, Evie, I'm sorry. I've got 3 computers in front of me and I didn't see your chat until just now. The iMac G3 that I knocked off the table survived. Uh it didn't even stop running. I was running hotline transfers on it. None of them stopped. Uh and I continued using that machine for a couple more years, and then I gave it to my grandfather. So, uh, that was a success story with that iMac G3.
Yeah, I might think if I'm worse, I'm actually things are worth money now. Like for so many years, I couldn't give those things away. I moved houses and left them sitting in the garage when I moved because I couldn't give the things away for free. And now
Right?
people want to buy them. It's like, what the hell? I couldn't even give these things away 5 years ago. Nobody wanted them.
It's crazy how things that had no value even just 2 or 3 years ago, all of a sudden, bam,
Yeah,
value. I think iMac G3s are included. I see people on /r Vintage Apple looking for them, paying money for them, which just seems crazy to me.
I
So
know.
it's like,
Like back in 2012, I also got like a lot of like 35150s, an XT5160, a compact portable, to a T3100, all fun stuff for free. Because back then it was worth a little bit of money, but it wasn't worth enough money to try and sell it. Whereas now all that stuff's worth good money again. It's like, man, it ain't even been that long.
Yeah, so I know that I've been saying this everywhere, but I'm going to say it again. One of the most elucidating things for me personally about some of the people who are older than I am on the forum is this advice article that I believe was also posted to Low End Mac in like 2000, basically saying it was the question was like, what video card should I get for my 2FX? And the response was essentially, they're all $20. Just go buy an 824 GC or a Paintboard Li or whatever you want and pop it in there. And I just all
you die a little on the inside, don't you? When they say like, "Oh, I got a Micron Exceed off of a guy who had 30 of them in a bucket in a 5-gallon bucket,"
right.
and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just awful.
Yeah, and at the time I was getting Macs really cheap, and 14-inch Apple monitors were real easy to find. But because, even a 2FX really was still kind of useful up to about 2000, 2001, as like a secondary or tertiary computer, things like peripherals of any sort that were anything other than a 640 by 480 monitor or a keyboard and mice were impossible to find at that time.
Yeah, my 2FX was used until like 98 or so by a college student. That's based on the files that are on the hard drive before the hard drive died. It's a quantum drive, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So, not to too terribly change the subject, but I guess I should actually say, hi, I'm Tyler, ulterior WTHWW. What the hoa?
Yeah,
Whatever. But
nice to meet you. I'm Joel Potato Fi. So
yeah,
we should have done that a while ago. Sorry.
well, apologies. Corey and I have been internet friends for most of our lives at this point, and so for me, breaking into a video call that Corey's in is kind of just like, hey, what's up? How was your day? So context
Yeah.
switch is necessary.
Nice.
Side note, I've been on the forum for more than half my life at this point. Just to either make everyone feel old or young or just pity me.
I was going to say, I'm not sure how you expect me to feel about that, Corey.
Have you like had nothing better to do with your life than stay on old Mac forums?
Apparently, I have nothing better to do than host them, so we all have our own problems, man.
So, Ulterior, you take care of you. I'm sorry, I already forgot your name. I'm looking at your screen name here. What'd you say your name was?
Tyler.
Tyler. Okay, cool. So you host 68K MLA.
Yeah, I have since 2011 or 2012, I think, maybe.
So how did you get into that? Like, what's the story? What's the background there?
I do IT by trade, though at the time I didn't.
I asked him to.
Nice.
Yeah, it's basically
Sorry.
the long and short of it is Tom Levins, tilde TL on the forums, bless him, is a great guy. And when he decided he was done with the forum, he handed it off to Corey, both technically and administratively. And we survived on PHBB3 with basically no safeguards at all in it for the longest time on a VPS with 128 megs of RAM and a 20 gig disk. I mean, literally like 7 years.
That it had 256 megs of RAM, I'm pretty sure, and only a 10 gig disk.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, see, it was worse than I remember. So
it was like a first generation Rackspace VPS.
Yeah.
Like before Amazon was doing VPSs, I'm pretty sure, I'd have to look, I had this thing from Rackspace.
Because it started out as a slice from SliceHost.
Ah, that's right. It was a second generation SliceHost too.
Yeah.
Because I remember SliceHost was pretty old at the time.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
I remember like being angry that they unceremoniously shut the VM down when they moved it to new virtualization hardware and software and corrupted the database, and we had one of the many rollbacks that happened during that time.
Yeah, that was a little less common, and they were slightly less severe than in the previous era. Well, actually, it got really bad. So the forum, way back, it was started in like 2001. It was hosted on this site called Literature Classics, and it was an ASP. It was a classic ASP application called SNITS, and I'm pretty sure Literature Classics was somebody else's side project that we were like the third or fourth tenant on this thing. And the thing ran, it was an ASP.NET application without a real database. So just after a couple years, we just started getting jet errors after we would get 40 people online, I believe. It might have been lower. And we'd lose a couple days worth of stuff. It was so great.
Yeah. So eventually, Corey and I, because we've been internet friends so long, we talked about it, and it basically came down to, did we want to keep on keeping on with PHP BB3, which the install was just really broken because it got the database was really broken because it was migrated from PHP BB2, and previous administrators had the habit of just deleting database rows and tables because they felt like it, which PHP BB2 can put up with, and even 3 can put up with, but left a lot of errors when you would browse threads. And so basically, we scrounged up some money to buy an Envision license. And kind of the bargain that Corey and I have struck is that, I take care of the day-to-day technical stuff and sometimes play bad cop, and Corey wears the throne, I guess, or wears the crown, I guess. That's how I'd put it.
Seems like a pretty good arrangement. So, are you into Classic Macs at all, or do you just kind of handle the forum administration and that's what you do?
Uh, I love classic Macs, and
Uh-huh.
at one point I had an entire garage full of them. I am a recovering addict, so kind of what I found is through at one point I owned almost every single 68K Mac,
Okay.
and it kind of just got to the point where it was like, well, I've tasted all of the flavors. I know which ones are my favorite now. And over time, I got rid of stuff and got down to the Macs that I really like. And life likes to play its games, and the universe likes to do things to you. So I got the chance to hit the reset button on life and take a new job on the other side of the country. So I did. So for a while, I didn't really have any of my vintage gear, and only recently I've, through friends, have picked up a few classic Macs, and it's kind of reignited my passion for 68K Macs actually in some hilarious ways.
What what hardware are you rolling right now? Like, what's your I don't know, what's your favorite 68K Mac that you have right now?
Well, I would say my favorite 68K Mac ever is the Quadra 650.
I'm gonna look it up because I can't visualize it.
It's a pretty nice little machine, to be honest.
It's basically a Quadra 800 in the most not Mac-like case ever. It's made out of sheet metal,
Nice.
and it's totally ugly and homely, and
I'm going to argue that the sheer number of 650s to have existed makes it very Mac-like.
okay, true, but put a different way, the most likely thing to be wrong with the 650 when you get it is a battery to have exploded inside of it,
Mm-hmm.
or the faceplate to have cracked off, because the metal chassis is like indestructible.
Indestructible, can withstand
Yeah,
a nuclear bomb.
yeah,
Yeah, it's sad. It seems like the exploding battery thing, like every desirable Mac out there suffers from that specifically. It's like the number one killer of Macs.
yeah,
Yeah.
and almost unavoidable because nobody stores something like an old computer in a climate-controlled area.
Oh.
And I didn't know it was going to happen either. Like, I didn't know back in 94 when you quit using a thing that, oh, hey, battery's going to go bang in 20 years.
Yeah, who would have thought? And also 10 years ago, who gave a crap about, about 68K Max? Nobody cared. I didn't care. They got all turned into fish tanks. So, like, here's an example. One of my friends hooked me up with this one about a month ago now, a little over a month ago, and I have not been able to get it working. But this is actually a 128 that was converted into a plus. So this is a 128K front, and this was in their hangar. They've got an airplane, he and his dad, and this hung out in their hangar for I don't know what 20 years, something like that. There was a copy of Microsoft Flight Simulator stuck in the floppy drive. He was like, "Dude, if you can get that working on it, like that'd be so awesome." But but yeah, it was absolutely not climate controlled. Like here in Idaho, where I live, it's like it's close to zero at night during the winter usually, and in the summer we see about 105, something like that. So really awful conditions for this thing to be stored in. So, which maybe explains partially why I have been very unsuccessful in getting it to boot up.
You know, oddly, so I live in Arizona. Um, I put a raft load of vintage Macs into a storage locker in about 2006 or so. Maybe a couple years after that, but more than 10 years ago at this point. And I pulled a couple of them out earlier this year, and the ones I pulled out, an 840 AV, an LC520, a blue and white G3, and a beige G3, those all seem to be working. Um, I know that some of them need some help, but they all came out working. The batteries didn't get any of them.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I do need to probably one of the next big trips I take, I'm gonna pack up the 840 and maybe the 520 and take them to someone who can recap them. We'll see.
Um, I might be able to help with that. Uh, so I'm definitely a novice. But I'm actually going to be, depending on where you are, I'm going to be in Arizona on Sunday night, and I leave Tuesday evening.
That's hilarious.
I'm coming down
I
to Phoenix, so I don't know. You probably don't know if you want to disclose your location or anything like that. We could definitely take that discussion offline, but there is maybe a possibility that we could at least save on shipping one way. If you want some help recapping some boards, my resume is very short, very very short, but I have successfully recapped a couple of boards now. So
Okay. I live in Flagstaff. However,
oh yeah, it's a little
comma.
ways away.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Side story. I have chronic illness, comma, and I drove down to Phoenix uh, during work on. God, that was yesterday. Anyway, Phoenix doesn't feel far away to me, so if you're going to be around and idle, or otherwise just want to high five this weekend, LMK, because I'm happy to drive to Phoenix. I mean, I'm not happy to be in Phoenix, but it's easy enough for me to get there.
Yeah. So the schedule is I'm there late on Sunday night. I think I get in at like 11. Um and then I'm like first thing like 8 a.m. Monday morning, like I hit the ground running. I got to do stuff, and I got to do stuff until I catch a flight out on Tuesday afternoon. So to be honest, it's probably not worth a 3-hour drive one way for you to come down and see me. But I actually do end up in Phoenix a lot for whatever reason. It's just a very common destination for work. So if not this time, there's going to be a next time. In fact, funny story about Arizona. In February, I flew down for the Wireless LAN Professionals Conference, which is in Phoenix. And one of the other guys that was there for the conference, he actually drove me down to Tucson, and I picked up I picked up a Macintosh SE, and there's a keyboard on the ground right there, that Macintosh Plus keyboard. I bought that off of a guy off of Reddit, and we drove down to Tucson and picked them up. So
Nice.
yeah, it was just in February, so that was like super recent, and that's about the time that I really started to get active on the forum. So
Oh man, I don't know if I should love you or hate you because we do very similar things.
but drive stupid distances to pick up a keyboard.
Oh, I've done that. I went to Idaho and I came back with a Yamaha XG sound card.
Nice.
That's 800 and something miles one direction, I should know.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
Idaho
On a
from
motorcycle.
on a motorcycle. So
Yeah.
I got to ask, what kind of motorcycle?
GPZ 1100 Kawasaki.
Ooh, not very nice.
Big bike. It gets horrible gas mileage up in that altitude because the carburetors are getting like 30 miles to the gallon tops going uphill.
Yeah.
But hey, it was a fun trip. It was 23 degrees out, so it was quite cold. But other than
What
that, it's all right.
what year is your GPZ 1100?
96.
Nice. Okay, boy, this is going off. This is a tangent, but here we go. I used to have the very first street bike I ever bought was I bought a brand new Kawasaki Ninja 250.
Hey, I
And
admire that.
oh man, that was such
I actually want one.
a dude. It's fantastic little bike. I regret selling that every single day. I got to do one track day on it, and that is like up there in like top 5, top 6, like best days of my life. It was so much fun. And what was fantastic about it is it was so small and light that you could just fly through corners on it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Yeah, and it was like the best kept secret of motorcycling. Like, yeah, it was great. But yeah, where? Let's see. So you said you went to Idaho, huh? Where'd you go in Idaho?
Idaho Falls.
You went to Idaho Falls. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Opposite end of the state from where I am. That's that way.
Yeah,
Like
next time I go
4
up there,
hours.
I am totally going through your area because Nevada was super boring.
Yeah.
I totally just gonna like through Washington,
Whoa.
through Oregon,
I
Washington.
love
Whoa.
driving through Nevada.
Whoa. No.
I didn't know that.
You just need to be here for Nevada Day, okay?
Does that require me going on 80 for like a day straight through Nevada with nothing around you?
I have driven through Nevada. It's been about 15 years, but my dad and I drove from Oregon and we drove down through Vegas. And I just remember like seeing the lights of Vegas and be like, oh, wow, we're getting really close. And then like 6 hours later, we arrived in Vegas. It was nuts.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty much what it was like. Is like, oh hey, there's
yeah,
the town doesn't even have a gas station. Guess another 200 miles to the next town.
Vegas is a big state. It's big. So,
Whoa. Vegas is a big state.
oh, I'm sorry. Nevada, you know what I meant. I was actually in Vegas 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Mhm.
3 weeks ago. Did not get In-N-Out Burger while I was there. I was ticked, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Didn't get to go to In-N-Out.
There's an In-N-Out in Phoenix.
I know.
Fun fact, I
Yeah.
went to it. So I just really like driving around.
Fair enough.
Tyler, were you there the year that Becky went to K-Fest?
No, I wish I was.
Okay, so Tyler and I went to K-Fest together in 2014. The next year I went without him, and Burger Becky was the keynote speaker that year. And so I followed her on Twitter, and she and her wife Janelle were in Phoenix for some reason. And Becky was like, "I want In-N-Out," and I was like, "I would be more than happy to go to Phoenix and bring you In-N-Out." So I literally drove from Flagstaff to Phoenix, bought In-N-Out for her and Janelle, and brought it to them where they were, high-fived, talked about Mac OS 10 development, I think, and then I left, and I forget, I had a legitimate reason to be in Phoenix that day. I forget what it was, but I then went off to do the other thing. So if you ever need In-N-Out,
You're the guy. You can do that.
I can drive to Phoenix and buy In-N-Out and bring it to someone who's elsewhere in Phoenix.
Wow, that's boy, that's a pretty good deal. Have you thought about doing like Uber Eats or something like that? You know?
No, actually. Last time I looked at regular Uber, my car was too old.
Mine too, actually. I briefly thought about it. I was like, I could drive for Uber in my spare time, make a little extra cash. And looked, and yeah, my car is too old. Like, you could not select. It was like not even within like 10 years. It was so far off the chart. It was just not going to happen. So
My car is a 2003.
I got you beat, buddy. I got you beat. Mine's an old grandpa. It's a 97. What?
Whoa.
Actually, that's only 6 years older. Not that big of a gap.
I mean, hey, it's new with my motorcycles, and I don't even own a car, so.
Nice. You know what? I have never been I've never done just a motorcycle. But man, for a couple of years, my car just sat there. I drive it like once every 3 weeks or so. It was crazy. It definitely, that was fun. It was really fun to be pretty much just on a bike, and you have to think very creatively about things. You do things in a very creative way to get around strictly on a motorcycle, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and I'm in California, so it makes sense because the weather here doesn't suck. Even in the rain, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I grew up on the Oregon coast where it rains most of the time, so you just got used to riding in rain.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. People are like, oh, it's scary. No, just like don't go too fast.
There you go.
So, if you don't mind my asking, professionally, do you do like enterprise wireless or wired stuff? Is that what you do?
Sort of. I'm a pseudo wireless engineer. So I work for a wireless tools company or a tools vendor, and so as a result, I rub shoulders with a lot of wireless engineers. I'm the technical trainer, and so I know a little bit about how the protocol works and, the stuff around kind of our tools and things like that. I wouldn't say that I'm a real wireless engineer though, but I'm at least friends with a bunch of them. So,
Well, first of all, don't discount yourself. But
all right, cool. Well, I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. Usually I don't. But it is fun. Wireless is a pretty cool industry to be in, and I enjoy it a lot. And the community is really tight, really, really tight community. In fact, several of my like real life friends, actually the only real life friends that I have that care at all about this compact Macintosh and old Macintosh thing, they're all wireless guys. So
nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm a network engineer for a municipality in Nevada, so that's
very cool.
some telltale stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a buddy who, the guy that drove me down actually to pick up that Macintosh down in, when he drove me south, down to Tucson. I was trying to remember the name. He actually, he's a wireless guy in Vegas, and he actually took that Macintosh SE that we picked up home. So he's down there in Vegas, hang out every now and then.
Sweet. I had just since it came up, I'd been working on off and on the old Mac Hamachi thing, and the conclusion you came to on the forums about local talk is pretty much where I'm at for supporting the oldest Macs.
Yeah. So which discussion were you looking at? Because I got to admit that I am wading into a world that I do not understand at all. I mean, you guys have years of experience doing this. I got my first Macintosh in December.
Just side note, do you want an extremely quick primer to Local Talk and Apple Talk for the era of Mac that you're working with?
Yes,
There's,
sure.
okay, so as a child, young Corey, who had just joined the MLA over half a life ago, picked up a copy of Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About the Mac and Then Some, edition 3, I believe, which was published in 1993. And it has a, by 1993 standards, relatively comprehensive but also easy to understand section about networking. And it's where a lot of my personal foundational knowledge about vintage Mac networking comes from.
Is this like a print? Oh, this is actual book, like a print book?
Yes. However, comma, uh,
I'm listening.
that guy on the forum whose website address I never remember, vintageapple.org, there's a copy on his site, Vintage Max, which I'm about to send you on Telegram.
Perfect.
There you are.
Yes, because
This
perfect.
is the link to the whole page.
Whoa.
Just Control F that page for everything
Got
you
it.
ever. Oh, it's everything you wanted.
Perfect. I am
There's,
definitely bookmarking this.
I'm sure that there's 24 books on this page that would be good. This just happened to be the one that I had as a child.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So when I was a kid, the first machine we ever had was a 386. And I think my dad had like a 286 or something like that, or an IBM XT or something like that before. But by the time I was really like aware, a 386 was the first thing we had. We never had Mac stuff in the house at all. I remember seeing a Mac in kindergarten. I couldn't even tell you what model it was. I just cannot remember. I just remember that little colorful Apple logo. It's probably like a 2GS or something like that. But I just don't have any foundational background. I have no background in this at all. I'm just like when one of my buddies in the wireless industry told me about resource forks, my mind was blown. I was like, what? Resource forks? What? That's so stupid, And that's just, I just had no idea. Just didn't know. So
There's an awful lot of stuff that in reality, that's not going to work. That's my PC keyboard. That in reality is fairly brain dead about the old Mac, or that like makes perfect sense if you think about it on its own in 1990 or earlier, and then
yeah,
you go like, how did some of this stuff survive through the 90s?
So, question for you guys, actually, while we're talking about local talk and all that, do I need, so it kind of sounded like the discussion that we had today, like I don't actually need transceivers to do one-to-one local talk. Is that correct? Because I have in my hands a cable.
That is correct, you do not. I recommend
So,
you connect it to the printer port on both machines
okay,
because the printer port is, for reasons TM, um, the default.
okay. Maybe just for fun, you definitely can't see how many pins that has, and I don't want to reach all the way over there. So this has
Is it 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 8 pins. So is this the cable that I need?
Some of them were wired, uh, so it won't hurt if it's not.
Okay, so I won't like fry my prized SuperDrive
No,
Macintosh SE.
No.
no.
But you basically have to plug it in and try it to find out.
Okay,
And at least, well, here's the best way to put it. I don't know the pin out.
yeah,
However, I believe it's the same as quote other unquote serial cables where some of them are null modem configuration and some of them aren't. And I
yeah.
believe it's actually, Chris, do you remember?
I don't. I actually haven't ever dealt with the actual local talk like serial. Yeah, I've actually never done it. I actually never had the cabling for it.
I've never
I
had. Oh, so okay, so
I
I've
have a
never.
bunch of phone talk transceivers, but I've never tried using them yet. That's one of those. One of these years I'll get around to trying that out.
Did you say phone net transceivers?
I have a whole box of phone net transceivers.
Nice. Yeah, because I was thinking about picking up some transceivers, whether it's phone net or just plain old local talk.
Yeah, so
Um,
phone net are actually really cheap. You can find them on like Russia Forum Marketplace. You can find them like a box of them for like $5 all the time. They're actually not too expensive.
yeah.
If you buy them one at a time, they're pricey, but especially if somebody's a bunch of them, they usually let them go really cheap.
So, like for example, you guys see I have like 5 Macintoshes in here right
Yeah.
now. I mean, is it reasonable that I could load up all my software on my internet connected Macintosh SE, and then once I just get System 6 or System 7 installed on these machines, like use that to move applications and things over to it to get
Yeah,
stuff
it,
installed? Like, is that a pretty good use case?
it won't be
Yes.
fast, but it'll work.
It'll work. Yeah, I don't need it to be fast. Like if I have to drag and drop and then wait 10 minutes or so, that's fine. It's still easier than writing 800K floppy disks and
Yeah,
moving
I
those around.
Yes.
yeah, I always just rip the hard drive out, put it in my Daystar, copy files over, and put it back in the system it's supposed to go in anyway. That's my usual
Right.
file transfer.
Short of using bigger or more convenient removable media, which,
Zip disks or something like that.
well, and
Oh,
If
I was
they
just
work.
gonna say zip. I was gonna exactly like if you can find 8 zip drives that work right reliably, like good on you, man. Like I want some of your luck. Buy me a lottery ticket. Uh,
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye out. Nothing so far.
yeah, I would definitely recommend local talk, and if you can find the phone net transceivers, they're like the best way to go,
Okay.
especially on compacts or even like the LCs, the LC 1 and 2 on those machines. They're gonna be just as fast as you need it to be, really.
Yeah.
so hot take. At literally any speed, local talk is faster than writing floppies.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I don't even care if you have a pile of G3s. That said, when your machines all have Ethernet, you definitely want to use that. I will add, however, I
They don't
stand by
have
what I said on this
Ethernet.
on the forum earlier. I think that a local talk bridge, a modern local talk bridge, so kind of transitioning into some
Yeah,
of the
this is a
stuff I
good
read on the
segue.
forum.
Yeah.
Someone suggested, actually it was you, Joel, suggested that inertial computing, um, who Tyler and I know, we went to his house.
Oh, that's cool.
um,
if you haven't figured it out, the vintage computer world is really small.
well,
I've noticed that.
more importantly,
There's
I
like
go
dozens of
everywhere
us.
in my minivan. Um, that's a story I want to tell, but it'll wait a couple minutes. Um, so we went to his house, and picked up some stuff, and I bought some SCSI to SDs from him and a deck machine. And
It felt kind of
anyway,
like a drug deal.
um, no, what I was gonna say is it sounds like he intimated somewhere that the SCSI to SD version 6 potentially has USB host capabilities, and as such, hypothetically, a firmware could be written for it to use its USB host capabilities with a USB Ethernet or hypothetically Wi-Fi adapter. I think that's cool. I'm interested in seeing it take carried through, but I wonder if it wouldn't do more good to just rebuild the local talk to EtherTalk bridge.
So one thing that I think I missed there, did you say that somebody has accomplished this? Like somebody did get USB host from a SCSI to SD working?
No.
It's a hypothetical. It's possible, but nobody's done it.
As far as I know, that's the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like there's several steps. First, you have to get USB host working on the SCSI to SD v6.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the hardware has to be capable enough both of doing its existing functions and running a USB host
Mm-hmm.
and doing networking. We already know that the SCSI to SD hardware can present itself as multiple SCSI IDs, so that's not a problem.
But does the STM32 actually have enough processing power to handle both concurrently?
Yes. And I think that for the use case of compact Macs, and most of the Macs listed that don't have Ethernet and or can't conveniently have Ethernet, or you might want to use the only expansion slot for something else, um, slower SCSI speeds than what the SCSI to SD6 can do is fine. Um, but I don't know exactly what the degradation would be, if there would be any. Who knows? Maybe it would be fine.
So I think that that's the right way to go in the way of, or doing the EtherTalk to LocalTalk bridge and including the Mac IP gateway in that with something that can, of course, do NAT is probably the right way of doing that. And that is my little side project that I've been working on is how do I do Hamachi for old Macs, but also how do I make my own EtherTalk to LocalTalk bridge with
Yeah.
Yeah.
modern hardware?
See, and this
So
the thing
the
for
thing that
me.
oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the reason I think this, and Tyler said the other half of what I was gonna say, basically. But my personal supporting reason for this is, let's just. I personally have 4 Macs on hand without Ethernet,
Yeah.
and I have 4 or 5 local talk transceivers. If I can just, and this is purely from a product and consumer perspective, because I don't have the skills to do any of this stuff myself. Um, I'm basically a cheerleader
Me
who
too.
so as a cheerleader who has a variety of Macs and who already has local talk stuff, my thought is we can hypothetically do better for maybe more and without having the need to, as a base for any of this, purchase a SCSI to SD. Um, I like the idea of the SCSI to SD to Ethernet. Um, I hope someone does it, but I kind of think that the other thing is a better idea.
So it seems like there's 2 potential solutions then. Solution 1, SCSI to SD, get USB host mode, get a driver written for it. The problem is there's several really big fat engineering challenges there, right? Just monumental, huge engineering challenges that, somebody like the developer of SCSI to SD simply does not have the time to do because we are a tiny segment of his market, right?
Yes.
What I'm looking for is I want a way to get these things online and I want it to be repeatable. I want it to be something that anybody can go out there and buy a few dollars worth of parts and set it up and have their Macs online without a whole bunch of fuss, right? And so, and also, I want it to be accessible stuff too. Like, oh, you want Ethernet on your Mac? Yeah, just go troll eBay for like 3 weeks until you see a $200, PDS card come up and grab it because there's only one.
Oh, and
No,
hope you find drivers for it too.
yeah, right. Um, I mean, I feel incredibly lucky to have scored my SCSI, my Dana, or no, it's Farallon, but it's Dana and Farallon. They're literally the same thing, as far as I can tell. Um,
I took mine apart. They're the exact same thing inside.
Nice. Yeah. So I don't want it to be like that. Like, I'd rather, if it's something that you can buy a Raspberry Pi and you can buy a capacitor and you can solder up something really quick and you can grab an SD card image that the community's put together and pop it on your Raspberry Pi and boom, you now have network access. That would be pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
my intent, at least, to be totally honest with you.
So for
Sweet.
background, the Apple II community, Ivan, who Tyler and I met, haha, sorry, at Kansas Fest, um, has put together a Pi image called A2 Pi, I think.
A2 Cloud.
A2
No.
Cloud, yeah.
Yeah.
One of its functions is most of the software part of that. It does, I don't think it does Mac IP gateway, but it does. It's an Apple Share server, and you basically plug this thing into a Pi, you turn it on, and then you turn on an existing. And granted, these are also getting harder to find, and documentation for them is thin on the ground. But you find a a local talk to EtherTalk bridge, and then you can connect Macs or Apple IIs with Apple Talk to this thing. I think that adding the local talk to implementing a modern local talk to EtherTalk gateway, which, as far as I can tell, would just require RS-485 and being able to talk Apple to it, um,
You're
is
talking about getting rid of the proprietary Ethernet to Apple Talk bridge and rolling using RS blah blah blah. I already forgot the numbers. But you're talking about rolling your own Apple Talk transceiver, basically.
bridge, not transceiver.
Bridge. Yeah, okay.
Just to be accurate, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yes,
Well, and
basically.
to be more accurate, local talk to ether talk, right? Because what we're talking about is like
Yes.
in the vintage computing world, we're talking about collapsing like 4 different pieces of gear. We're talking about collapsing, or we're talking about a Mac IP gateway, which in the olden years was a physical machine or
Like a
an
Cisco
ancient
router.
Cisco.
Mhm.
Well, there's some stories about that, but some companies actually implemented their own physical device for that. But an old Cisco router, something to encapsulate TCP/IP inside of local talk frames, essentially. So
Yeah, as far as I understand it, the two big solutions for that are the Shiva FastPath, I believe. Some of them can do Mac IP,
they
and
can, and it's so beautiful. It's like 4Z80s doing that.
That's awesome.
yeah. So the Shiva FastPath is it actually does both things. It has Ethernet, and it also has local talk. Uh, so you can basically plop one of those onto your networks, and oh, sorry, more pills times. Um, you pop a Shiva FastPath into your network, or really between your two networks at the time, and you install Mac IP. And I don't know if Open Transport can do this, which is kind of the bummer part of this.
It can.
Really? Okay, good.
The only reason I know that is that my middle school had a gaggle of blue and white G3s that were still connected over freaking local talk with Mac IP with the serial add-on boards. They ordered them all with the serial boards just for that.
That is beautiful. So, basically, Corey's dream world is someone re-implements the Shiva FastPath 4, or whatever version it is that can do that. And it's basically a device that has Ethernet and talks both TCP/IP and AppleTalk, which is its own like it gets referred to as DDP um, on one side, and then Serial, Mac IP, and AppleTalk on the other.
And to be totally clear about this has actually been done before, and it was done by sysadmins who needed to bridge these old networks at, in the transitional periods. So in like 2000, some rando just wrote his own implementation of this for FreeBSD.
Mac
He
IP
just did
gateway,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen the VM floating around that is an ancient version of FreeBSD just for this purpose.
But I thought I saw somewhere, I forget if somebody posted on the forum or where, but I thought somebody said that it now compiles for modern Linux and FreeBSD. So compiling it for Debian is possible now. Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I haven't seen that, and that would surprise me a lot if that was the case.
Okay.
Just because the upstream project for Netatalk has dropped support for all of the classic stuff.
Well, a perfect world would be if a modern, if you could interface the physical layer to the Pi without having to buy any special hardware. That would be pretty cool. And then to have Mac IP Gateway or something similar run on the Pi would be pretty cool. And while you're there, maybe you could stuff a couple of other goodies into the Pi. Like there's that proxy that renders web pages to GIFs or something like that for you. I forget what that is. You could start to have some fun with that and really put together a cool little gateway package that would do a nice job of interfacing AppleTalk to the real world. And you mentioned a NAT earlier. It'd be kind of cool if there wasn't a NAT, just so that it could show up on the local network. From the networking side of things, I have no idea what is required there, what would have to happen. Maybe a NAT is absolutely required, but having some kind of image that a regular dude like me that knows how to use DD can just write an image to a card and plug everything in and have it going, that would be pretty rad. It'd be pretty cool.
That's essentially what I want, but also I need to apologize. I haven't tested it, but apparently MacIP.net claims that you can compile this for Linux, and
nice.
What they've actually done is just re-implement what needed to happen in kernel and the user land. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Which means that. So long story short, what Mac IP does is fun because it encapsulates TCP/IP in the EtherTalk protocol, and then if you use one of these gateways, it turns it into local talk for your old Macs with only serial ports, right? So that would be the end goal, is writing something to turn that back into serial in software. And I need to look at that.
Well, I'm in the exact same position as Corey. I could stand over here and cheer you on and say, do the thing, like that's about all I can do. Because the sad reality is that it just gets into a world of things. I'm an extreme novice Linux administrator, and there's just a lot of layers here that I don't understand. But yeah, I would just absolutely love to see something plug and play that the average guy can hook up and get his old Mac online. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So, and just as an FYI, they do actually provide a Pi image for this, it looks like. So really, all you'd need is the local talk to EtherTalk gateway, and last time I checked, those are still pretty available.
Let
me
they?
check eBay. Yeah, I don't know.
You could get an iPrint to do that too. That's the other thing if people don't actually know.
Yeah, and well, like I picked one up in 2017 when we went to RePC. I planned an entire. Oh, so this is that other story. Tyler and I went to Seattle in late 2017 to visit some people Mostly because Okay, yeah, so there's a handful of local
Yeah.
talk bridges online.
There's one for $60.
Yeah, I see 50, yeah, 60, I see the Asante Ether Talk to Serial. This one, these Asante talks are great because they just have a serial port, so like that serial cable you have, you could plug that into this and just move this thing from machine to machine.
Or you can do like what I did and plug a phone net transceiver into it and be off to the races.
Nice. That's
Yes,
cool.
it'll work both ways.
But assuming, let's say that though, you get a project like this off the ground and all of the local talk bridges dry up because now everybody wants one because there's a good use for them.
Well, see that's kind of already the thing. There's 9 of these things on eBay right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Realistically, this is the part that's limited right now. You can
Yeah.
already so vTools exists. If you can get a machine with a new enough Open Transport and Apple talk into one of these and a Mac IP gateway, you're on vTools. Um, if the other part, Tyler's Hamachi for Vintage Macs, comes online, hypothetically one of these and an older vintage Mac should be able to talk to vTools. I have yet to test it, but I'm hopeful that it will work. Um,
So in my case, essentially, you'd end up plugging your Asante EtherTalk to Local Talk box into a Raspberry Pi and be able to do Local Talk with everything on the other side of the tunnel
yes, yeah,
and have
exactly.
a cute little website to configure it. Because really, what I want is to have it work like Hamachi did, where you can build your list of friends and the the VPN gateway on the other side will decide whether or not frames from your client's MAC address can get to another machine.
Oh my gosh. You just took me back like 12 years. I was like, Hamachi, what is he talking about? Like, is that the old thing for Xboxes? Like, what is that? And I saw the logo for it and I was like, oh, I remember this. We used this to play StarCraft. Like, this is
Right.
a big deal. Man.
So I want it to be like a more user-friendly version of that, so that you pop the SD card into your Pi, it boots up, it. Oh, I'm sorry. You pop in the serial number of your Pi's CPU on the website. It downloads the config, and anyone that you're friends with, in air quotes, you can share Ethernet frames with.
That would be pretty cool.
However, I'm getting the "it's time to come eat now" signal, so I must not ignore that.
And I told my wife that I do this for an hour. So, and we're about an hour and 10 in now. So I probably need to sign off. But the good news is I think we have plenty to talk about next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
So
hit me up when everyone wants to do this again. I haven't really gotten literally any other feedback from anyone on when is good to do this.
Okay.
So basically, I'm just kind of like, well, we'll do it when we can until someone, if there's a good time. Thursdays are generally open for me. Um, I'm interested in weekends, like Sunday afternoons in particular, because some of these folders are really big. Um, and because I'm not opposed to longer file sorting and streaming sessions, I guess. I don't know. It seems like once you get into it a little bit, most of the time people don't have a problem going for longer. I don't know. I don't know what anyone else's availability is like. We were
Yeah.
on for a
No,
couple
let's
hours
let's
last
talk about
weekend.
that. Sundays sound like a good idea. Did you get anything done while we talked?
Yes, I finished the E folder.
Nice.
Mainly
Very
because it
cool.
was small, but whatever.
But hey, you got a folder done. Cool.
Yeah.
all right, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Good night.
Yep. See you guys next time.
Yep.
Yeah, Corey, I'll go ahead and drop off now. But yeah, let's do this again soon. We can take it offline and And yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe try to do a little more advertising on the forums and see to get it. It'd be cool to get a few more people on.
Yeah, I would be interested. Tyler was definitely a little gung ho on like, hey, we should get people from the forums in. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that next time I'm a little more organized coming in because I feel like I was literally 7:55, like heating up some food, going ah.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Uh,
And not really. It's not the worst rush one you've done so far, so don't worry. We're all kind of rushed.
Fair
Like, oh hey, let's
enough.
start streaming right now. Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, so yeah, we'll see if we can talk up Sunday, and then from there we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to like wear everyone out on the idea though either. So we'll
yeah.
see.
So let's give it a couple. I'm probably a couple weeks out, maybe a week or two out before I can do it again. Like I'm flying out on Sunday for
Oh, that's
Arizona.
right.
Yeah, so I'm probably not good this Sunday, but maybe the Sunday after or something like that. I think it'd be fun
Okay.
and do a little advertising and maybe kind of have a few topics lined up and we'd still keep it casual, of course. But I don't know, it'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool to try to attract some viewers and see if we can get a few more people off the forum. It'd be nice to, I don't know, just hang out with some people and talk a little bit. So
Yeah, definitely. And yeah. So anyway, you've got all my information, so hit me up
oh yeah.
when you want to come on again. And in the meantime, I might or might not stream on Sunday. We'll see.
All right,
Uh,
sounds like a plan.
talk to you later. Bye.
All
Bye.
right. Okay, I'm out of here. See you guys.
Yep.
Bye now.
Bye.